So let us now learn a very significant word used in literature, and that is imagery. Now, you have very often seen that how writers use different kind of images in their texts. Now, what basically imagery is? Imagery is a kind of descriptive language. It's a descriptive language that produces pictures in person's mind. Just try to understand it. Imagery is a descriptive language that produces pictures in a person's mind. It's a literary device to evoke sensory experience, to create a picture with words for a reader. It is one of the literary elements used by the writers to make their writings more forceful and more effective. Now, it's not only, visual. That is, it does not, appeal only to the reader's, sense of sight, but it appeals to readers all the other senses like sight, taste, smell, touch and sound, as well as internal emotions and feelings. An image can help us see color or movements. At times it can help us hear a sound, smell an odor also, feel texture also, and even taste a flavor also. So depending on the kind of sense we have, the kind of image is created. As I have just told you that it's not only visual, depending on the kind of sense we are using it. Like for example, something which appeals to sense of hearing becomes auditory. Something which appeals to the sense of taste becomes gustatory. Something which appeals to motion becomes kinetic imagery. Something which appeals to the sense of smell becomes olfactory. Smell. Something which appeals to touch becomes tactile image. And something which appeals to sight, created with pictures on all that, is a visual image. So we have hearing, taste, smell, touch, and sight. Depending on the kind of sense we are using, it's different depending on motion. Like for example, if we say, like as I have told you, that imagery is a descriptive language that produces pictures in a person's mind. When you read a particular line, a particular word, a kind of image is created in your mind. Okay, like for example, if we say the autumn leaves are a blanket on the ground. The autumn leaves are a blanket on the ground. So it's a kind of visual image created in our mind. So when the writers want to convey the ideas with more effect, then the images are used, because they can easily be, the concept can easily be understood. I would like to take one example from the famous poem Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. I have taken the example from this poem because most of you have read this poem. Now, there is a stanza which begins, "Oh, for a draught of vintage." The stanza begins with this, "Oh, for a draught of vintage." And then it continues, "that hath been cooled long ages in the deep delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance and provincial song and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south." Then the stanza continues. Now, if you just, analyze this stanza, you'll find out that Keats uses an image that mixes two different senses. One is of sight and other is of taste. He mixes these two, senses. Like, tasting of flora and the country green, it's related to taste. So here Keats is, blending two senses, sense of sight and taste. And there's another word for this, which you should know. It's called synesthesia. It's called synesthesia. Now, synesthesia is derived from a Greek word meaning feel together. So Keats makes use of an image that appeals to our sense of sight in order to describe the taste of wine in this stanza. He describes the taste of wine in terms of, color, action, song, sensation, and feeling. So you have to keep this, word in your mind. Now, as I told you in the beginning, that not only the five senses, but sometimes, image appeals to our, feelings and emotions also, internal emotions and feelings also. A poet can use images in such a way as to make us, feel the joy, grief, wonder, or disgust he's talking about. I would like to take two lines from two different romantic poets in order to, explain my point. My heart leaps up. You must have read this poem, and I hope you know the name of the poet. My heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky, related to feeling and emotion. And another poem, another line which I would like to quote here is, "I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed." I hope you know the name of the poem, Ode to the West Wind by P.B. Shelley. So here you will find out how image is related to feeling and emotion. So this much for the concept of imagery. Thank you very much.